It's the first Sunday of Lent 2010, a very important time as we continue our journey, we continue our search to immerse ourselves into God's life, to deepen our relationship, to further open the door. Now, God has knocked, God's trying to enter, God has entered, but we need to continue opening that door. Some of us recently have had some profound spiritual experiences as we move into Lent. And some of us, it's pretty much the same as a year or two or three ago, and many of us somewhere in between. We want to go deeper, but we're tempted not to, because we don't know where that's going to take us and what that risk is. And frankly, sometimes we sin. Sometimes the temptation leads into sin. Sin ultimately is saying, "No, God, I don't need you. I can do it all by myself." Now, there are various sins, but that's fundamentally what sin is. Now, there's a difference between temptation and sin. It says today that Jesus was tempted, and he truly, really was as you and I are. He did not sin. Sometimes I do, sometimes you do. Temptation is temptation. And temptations happen all the time. They're not just about impurity, they're about all kinds of things in life. When are they going to end? The hour we die, and not before that. They're going to continue on. Now, Jesus, again, was truly tempted. He was tempted to abuse who he was, the Son of God. He was tempted to use false power instead of continuing on with his mission. Those were the temptations, and some writers say that all temptations can be put under those three. Now, you and I are tempted. We are tempted with the same temptations Jesus was, although we're not God, they're a little bit different. And we're tempted with a lot more. We're tempted to cheat on our income tax sometimes. Have you been getting those materials ready? I know it's one thing to look for all the corners, but it's another thing to make up some false numbers. We're tempted to lie. We're tempted to put others down. We can go through all the commandments. We can go through the virtues. There are a lot of different ways to examine ourselves. Our bodies, we're tempted toward having all kinds of pleasures, some of which are fine and great and beautiful, and some of which are overdoing it. We are tempted with our minds, our intelligence, our will. And all of this can lead into sin. It's a matter, though, the temptation happens, then you and I say yes, or we say no to the temptation. At times, we are tempted to feel sorry for ourselves, to misuse our sexuality, to abuse others in different ways, and much more. We're at the time now of Lent, these 40 days. Just a word about temptations against fasting, prayer, and almsgiving. Fasting of some form is really important. Otherwise, we're led into all kinds of false corners. It could be fasting from food. It could be other kinds of fasting. Now, fasting is doing less of what we normally do. Abstaining is totally giving something up, such as meat on Fridays or whenever. But whether it's fasting, whether it's abstaining, and there's a positive abstaining, it's maybe not a good word, a different kind that the scriptures last Friday called us to, of doing the corporal works of mercy, to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, visit the imprisoned, etc., etc. That's also a kind of fasting. And prayer, there is a real temptation not to pray. Oh, everybody here is all in favor of prayer, right? I mean, there's nobody here who's against prayer. But because we're so busy, it's so easy to not have a specific time, even 5 minutes, where that's the only thing I'm doing each day. Sure, I can pray while I'm driving. Sure, I can, but the focus, it better not be there. You better be watching the road, okay? To have a period of time every day where it's just God and myself, and see if they'd be tempted to make up all kinds of excuses not to do that. And almsgiving. Basically, almsgiving is living a life of generosity. Part of that is giving some of our financial resources to those in need. And the rice bowls are so that possibly, because you have to choose, some of the money which we do not spend because of our fasting, whatever form that might take, it might mean not going out and buying a certain kind of clothes or whatever. That can go into the rice bowl or other forms of charity, but fundamentally it's generosity, and I'm easily tempted, not to be generous. I'm going to switch now to the parish mission. Next Sunday, Father James Marchand and Sister Ann Willits will be here. Everybody in the parish has been mailed a poster. I know the one that was mailed to you was not quite as fancy as these, but I invite you to, especially those of you who have a place in your business or wherever where you can post one of these posters, to come up and take one and do that. But more important, as you make choices and set priorities, that next Saturday or Sunday you be present, and then either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning or evening, March 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Ultimately, what life is about and Lent is about is to learn again, or maybe for the first time, who we are, why we are, and who is of most value in our lives, and that who is God. Amen.